Okay, now we're gonna work on something more practical. So now we have to delete this part and we don't need this part. We will declare a header which shows in the menu a title for this field. And we need, if in Unity, if the field is private, you can add serialize field. And in that way, you can see in the, if we attach our script to this box, and here if we go to the box of Pandora, we can see here the header is box settings and here is opened. And because it's private, we need to add serialize field for the field. Otherwise, we won't see it in the inspector. So what we should do first is I will move my box to storage. I'll move it to storage, and in storage we have it here. And now we want to add an animation to this box. So what I would do is that I downloaded this box from this creator on Asset Store in Unity Asset Store. And it has a bunch of animations, and it has a controller, which is basically an animation. It's an IDLE animation, idle animation, and we wanna trigger the box crash when we press E or something. So now we should we will declare a crash animation name of the same name of the animation we have. And we will have a reference for the animator in the inspector that we have. And in the start, we're gonna assign the box animator to the one we have in the inspector. And we do that by using get component add of type animator. And we will add a public function that would open the box. And we just write box animator dot play and the name of the animation, which is crash animation name. Since I already have a character class, and we have to declare a function called find nearest box, or actually it should return a box. So first we need a search radius, let's say 5 float. And to be able to find boxes in an effective way, we can declare a new layer, which is called box. And then after that, we can check the box layer by first using layer mask dot get mask, and then the name of the layer we want to find. And then what we do is that we declare a list of hits. And what this function does is that it calculates for us, computes for us the array of all colliders touching or inside the sphere. And transport.position is the position of the object itself and the radius. And the radius, we have it here. It's the search radius we want. And the last parameter is the layer mask, which is the box layer. We first declare the minimum distance, which is float.max value, so we have the maximum distance possible. And then we declare a box, which is the nearest one. Nearest box equals null. We're gonna create a for each loop of collider type that would loop through the collider heads. And we will see now declare the distance equals vector3 dot get the distance from the position of the object to the hit position. And we're gonna create an if block and see if the distance is smaller than the interaction range. And we don't have an interaction range in the character. We have pickup range. Yeah, we need to create an interaction range here. 2.0 float, and the distance is smaller than the minimum distance. First, we need to add a check that if the box that the item is near them is actually a box. And if it's not a box, then we just skip this whole process. And here, the minimum distance, we are reassigning it so that we keep updating the distance. So when the character comes nearby the box, it will calculate the distance, and then if it sees that the distance is smaller than the minimum distance, we will update the minimum distance with that distance. And we will assign the nearest box to the box we found, which is close by the character. And in our update function, we should call that function. And we should also add later a handling for how we open the box if we hit it or press E or something. I added a debug log to check the character if he is nearby the box, and I will log the distance. I also had an error here. I had hit instead of box. We need a box transfer position. After we finish, we should add a box collider. You can add it from here. You can look it up, add component, and search it collider, box collider. And rigid body is not very important. So here we can see when we get nearby, you can see the logs. It keeps logging. You can see it's a lot of logs, which is not very efficient, but we can fix it later. So anyway, we have now the box and we can see if we are nearby it programmatically. And that's the most important thing. Now that we can find the nearest box, we should handle the way we open that box. We should handle the interaction between the character and the box. So we need to create a function where we can handle that. Let's just add it here, and I will call it handle box interaction. It will take a parameter, which is a box of type box. And in that way, now we have it set up. So how I'm capturing input, I'm using the starter assets input, which is already predefined in our character. And the character I have is the one with the starter assets. You can find it in the starter assets and you can add it in the scene. You can find it here, it's called player armature. And now we need to assign a key for the opening of the box. Let's say if it's starter assets input dot. Right now we don't have one to interact with the box, so we should add one. Let's just call it interact, and here we can add it at the end, private void. We add this function, interact input, and we add it here also. And that's how the input system works in Unity. If you use the new input system, and you can find it here in the player input. If you click twice on starter assets, input action asset. And here you need to add the one we have just added in the code. The name of the variable is interact, and we need to add the binding for it. We have a pickup fdrop, or let's just use t, and now we save it and it should work. In our character class, we go back and we choose interact, and we check if it's pressed, which is true. We check if it is true, it means it is pressed. And if it is pressed, we get the box and we call the function openBox. And that function should play our animation. And now in the update function, we call that function handle box interaction, and we pass in the box. Okay, I had an error here. It was the capital S. It should be the lowercase s. Now that we have everything ready, we should probably, it should work. Okay, let's go in our game and see what's up. The distance is working. I pressed D, but unfortunately it didn't work. Let's add a log and see if the issue is the box animator or the animation itself. And we don't forget to set the interact button after we finish to false. So I made a change where in the animation controller, in the animator controller, we click on it twice, and here we need to connect it. We first add a trigger called open, just like that. Just call it open. It's just for demonstration. I will do it again. And I will just connect this one to this one. You right click on it to make transition and then connect it to this one, and then you click on the connection, and from the list just choose the open that you have created. And yeah, that's how it works. And in our script we have to modify only small thing. We don't need the animation name anymore. And instead of playing the animation, another animation, we could just trigger the open that we have created. Yeah, we can do that by setting the trigger, and the name of it is open that we have created. And now let's see if it's gonna work. I think this is more robust. It keeps playing the IDLE animations, but when we click on T, it should trigger the bang. Yeah. As you can see, it has triggered it, but we have another box that we should hide. As we can see here, there's another box. I think if we delete this box, it should also work. Okay, in order for us to destroy it properly, we should get an object, game object. We should add two game objects, one for the intact box and one for the broken one. And let's add serialize field and that one as well. And then in the open box animation, we should, at the start first, we should hide the broken box, obviously. Broken box, we set it as hidden. And when we open the box, we set the broken box to be visible, and first the intact box, we should probably set it to hidden, and then the broken box to visible. And let's drag them inside our inspector and see what happens. And just like that, it works now flawlessly. And to disable the collider of our box, since our box has a collider, because if we didn't disable it, we won't be able to walk through the box if it's broken. So that's why we have to get a reference of the box collider of this component that we are in, the game object we are working with. And then we disable the colliders. And in that way, when you go here, as you can see, after the box is opened, we can walk through it.